Sometimes, when you're chairing a meeting, your primary purpose is to facilitate a discussion to get a very clear outcome. So in this video, I want to take you through the process I use when facilitating a meeting. There was a time when I didn't know how to do this, to run a facilitated meeting. But I learned, largely by trial and error, until I reached a point where I was actually quite good at it. But I didn't really know what I did until one of my clients actually over lunch thanked me for demonstrating how to facilitate a meeting and showed me his notes about how I did that. I asked him if I could copy those notes, which I did. And so this video is based on the process I use to facilitate a conversation in a meeting. It's a 5-step process with 6 steps because step 0 happens before the meeting. It's all about preparation, and preparation is key. You've got to do your homework. You've got to do your reading. You've got to talk to people to find out what the issues are, what the concerns are, what the positions are, so that you've got a sense of what's going to come up. And you also have to think about the logistics. Get the logistics right. Get the right venue. Get the right time. Get the right place. Get the right people together and communicate all of that well. For the kind of facilitated meeting we're talking about in this video, you may not need an agenda, or it may be a very simple outline agenda. But if you do have an agenda, get it out in good time and make sure again that that's written and presented clearly and professionally so that people know what they're turning up for, they know what you're expected of them, and they know the timing of the meeting so that they can turn up on time and they can know when they can expect to leave. So, facilitating that meeting. Step 1 is to open with a big, wide open question. And the one I like to use is, what do we want to achieve at this meeting? This sets what's called an outcome frame. It frames for everyone in the room what a good outcome looks like. And I'll then seek to develop that more precisely with what's called the evidence procedure. Try to get an answer to the question, how will we know that we've achieved the outcome we want? That is to say, what are the characteristics of a good outcome? What do we need to have documented, and what do we need to have decided? What does good look like? Step 2 is to take that outcome as the basis for establishing a clear agenda and process. Make sure that having set the outcome, everybody is clear how you're going to achieve it. That gives them confidence. That means they can engage fully in the conversation. And the acronym I use to remember what I need to include in this is OARR, which stands for Outcome, Agenda, Roles and Rules. So I'll reiterate, this is the outcome we're trying to achieve. This is the agenda, the steps we're going to take to achieve that outcome. These are the roles that I want each of us to fulfill, which might include my role as chair. It might include asking someone to take notes, perhaps someone to document what we're saying on a whiteboard or a flip chart. I'm going to perhaps ask some people to contribute particular information or particular points of view. And these are the rules. Set some guidelines, some ground rules that I want everybody to respect to make our conversation effective. Step 3 is to ensure that everybody gets a chance to comment, especially the people who are quiet. It's very tempting to think that people don't speak because they haven't got anything to say. But the reality is some people don't speak because they're not confident to speak, and that doesn't mean they haven't got ideas that are every bit as good and valuable and insightful as the people who speak, let's face it, too much. So create a structure, an environment where everyone gets to speak. And the easiest way to do that is a round robin. Let's hear from everybody around the table. Or choose another order. so that you can bring people in and you don't get the same order of voices every time. Step 4 is to put counter views to test the robustness of thinking. No matter where you are, how close you think you are to agreement, always take time to pause the process and to check if there are any views around the table that are counter to what is being generally agreed on. To test those views out and to use those views to check that the thinking is solid. One person with one tiny insight can lead the whole group to a clearer understanding and perhaps a better solution. If, on the other hand, you take the easy route of saying, well, that's just a little point, only one person's thought of it, it's not important, let's focus on what we can all agree on, that way lies madness, the madness called groupthink. And we have a video about that. And finally, step 5 is to end with a review. And there are 4 things to review at the end of every facilitated meeting. Firstly, review the agreements. Document what the meeting has concluded and the extent of the agreement, which hopefully will be a broad consensus. It may help to document and reiterate how that agreement was achieved and the level of agreement, and be respectful if somebody has chosen to withhold their agreement to a group decision, document that as well. Secondly, review actions and the allocations of those actions, including the things you've agreed to do to follow up on the meeting. Go around the table, confirming what each person has agreed to do and the deadline. Look them in the eye and make sure they give you a clear and positive yes when you ask them to confirm that they are able to deliver on their commitment. Next, review any lower priority items that you haven't been able to discuss at the meeting. There may not be any, but if there are, review what they are and discuss briefly how the members of the meeting are going to handle those actions. Perhaps allocate them to someone to take the lead and lead a side conversation away from the meeting. And finally, review what next. Is there another meeting? If so, what will its focus be? And when will it be? You may not have a firm date, but if you can say it'll be sometime in the next month, or it will be after 3 weeks have elapsed, something like that will make sure everybody knows what's coming next. So that's my 5, arguably 6-step process. The last thing I want to do is to talk about 3 attitudes that I find essential if I'm going to facilitate an effective discussion. And the first of those is inclusivity. The need to include everyone in the room and to ensure that everyone in the room is respectful of one another so that those people who are less confident feel able to contribute effectively. Next is impartiality. Give everybody a fair hearing. Make sure you do not favour anybody. Clearly, you can favour information which is well researched and well validated, but individuals are only favoured to the extent that you give them the airtime to share that high quality knowledge. If you're facilitating a conversation, then everyone around the conversation should have an equal right to be heard and their opinions and ideas and information to be respected. And the third and final attitude that I'm going to highlight is flexibility. Yes, you must have a plan. You need a process to go from the start of the meeting to achieving the outcomes that the meeting has set itself. But keep that plan flexible while you hold rigidly to the outcome. If what you're doing isn't working, then be prepared to adapt. It's the outcome that matters, not some fancy process you've designed in your head for how you thought you were going to achieve it. The reality on the ground, the nature of the people in the room may mean that your process isn't working. And as soon as you detect that that's the case, shift, possibly ask the meeting for guidance, and then move to another process and keep working towards your outcome. Please give us a thumbs up if you like this video. There's loads more great management courses content to come. So please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell so you don't miss any of it. I'll see you in the next video, and in the meantime, keep learning.